Welcome to This Explainer. So today we're not just looking at some dry maritime law or, dusty piles of paperwork. We're actually embarking on this sweeping cinematic journey out on the high seas. Think of the administrative life cycle of a vessel like an epic blockbuster movie. We're talking massive physical transformations, dramatic rescues, and honestly, some pretty intense action sequences. We're going to be exploring the Indian vessel registration and protocols today, and I promise you, when you look at these rules through a cinematic lens, the entire legal framework just brilliantly comes to life. Okay, let's dive right into this. A vessel's registry is its soul, a grand identity tested and transformed by the endless ocean. Think about it. A ship's legal paperwork is basically the script of its entire life story. It gives the vessel its identity, its core purpose, and most importantly, its legal protection. Without it, well, a ship is just a massive piece of floating metal. But with it, it has a soul. So today, we're going to break down the four major acts of this legal journey, from major physical alterations all the way to the incredibly proud hoisting of national colors. Act 1, the cinematic ship makeover. Under Section 33, a ship can undergo a massive physical transformation where its tonnage or description completely changes from what's in the official register book. Let's actually walk through how this makeover montage happens. First off, the physical alteration actually occurs. Second, the owner has to apply with the brand new particulars of the ship. And third, the registrar steps in to either update the registry or just direct a total re-registration. Now, you might be wondering, who exactly handles this? The law says the owner goes to the local registrar at the port where the alteration happened. But let's say they're out at sea or somewhere else. They simply apply to the registrar at the very first port they arrive at after the work is completely done. And this right here brilliantly illustrates the dynamic flexibility of maritime law. If a ship gets its makeover at an Indian port, it's handled really smoothly by the local registrar or the one at that first port of arrival we just talked about. But what if our ship gets altered in a foreign port? Does it literally have to sail thousands of miles all the way back to India just for some paperwork? Absolutely no way. The registrar can actually just rely on an inspection report from a surveyor or an authorized person abroad. That allows the vessel to be re-registered without ever having to visit an Indian port. It totally keeps our plot moving without any boring detours. Now, sometimes the registrar who's directing this re-registration isn't actually from the vessel's original home port. If that's the case, under Section 34, they don't just leave the ship stranded in some weird bureaucratic limbo. Instead, they grant a provisional certificate or they provisionally endorse the existing certificate with the new alterations. Basically, provisional certificates keep the voyage alive. They make sure our ship's journey continues seamlessly and brightly across the ocean. Act 2. Changing your home port. According to Section 35, a ship doesn't have to stay tied to its original port forever. It can embark on a triumphant journey to a new home. But behind the scenes, this move guarantees absolute legal security. To legally change a port of registry, all the interested parties, and by that I mean the owners and the mortgagees, just need to make a written declaration to the registrar of their current port. The really crucial point to take away here is that the underlying rights of the owners and mortgagees remain completely untouched. The ship might be sailing off to a new home base, but those financial and ownership anchors, they continue exactly as before, literally as if no transfer ever happened. It's just a beautifully smooth and secure transition. Act 3, rising from the wreckage. Every great journey has a dramatic low point before an inspiring high, right? Section 36 deals with vessels that lost their registration because they were tragically wrecked or abandoned. But there is a path to redemption. A ship can be reborn. The catch is, a wrecked ship cannot be re-registered until it is rigorously certified as seaworthy by an official surveyor. And just so you know, this inspection is entirely at the expense of the applicant. It's a true test of the ship's physical and, in our movie terms, emotional resilience. Once it actually passes this rigorous survey, it can be officially reborn on the registry and sail those bright seas all over again. However, we've got a fantastic touch of cinematic drama here. This whole inspiring narrative of rebirth and being seaworthy, it applies to wrecks and abandonments for sure, but it does not apply if the vessel's registry was lost because it was captured by the enemy. That is a completely different storyline, and the law draws a very hard line right there. Act 4, hoisting true colors. This is our cinematic climax, covering Section 37, which is all about maritime pride and the strict rules for hoisting national colors declared by the central government. Just picture this majestic scene. You've got the bright ocean breeze catching the flag as this huge ship proudly sails forward. The law mandates that registered Indian vessels absolutely must hoist their proper national colors in a few specific high-profile situations.
They have to hoist them when signaled by any vessel of the Indian Navy, when signaled by the Indian Coast Guard, and basically whenever they are entering or leaving any port. It's this spectacular visual display of lawful maritime identity.
But what happens if someone breaks these rules? Well, here is our tense action sequence. Authorities will board and seize illegal colors. If colors are hoisted contrary to this act, commissioned officers of the Indian Navy, Coast Guard officers, surveyors, or even an Indian ambassador have the full legal authority to physically board that vessel. They will seize and take away those illegal colors, which are then officially forfeited right to the government. It is swift, it's decisive, and it is absolute cinematic justice.
And this all builds to an incredible plot twist. Say a non-Indian vessel tries to fake an Indian character by flying Indian national colors. That is strictly prohibited, right? But there is one thrilling exception: escaping capture. It is permitted if, and literally only if, they are desperately trying to escape capture by an enemy or a foreign warship that's exercising belligerent rights. That is straight out of a Hollywood thriller. You can break the rule on colors only if you are literally in a high-speed maritime chase to evade an enemy warship.
And that brings us to the end of our cinematic voyage through Indian vessel registration and protocols. We've seen massive physical transformations, triumphant moves to brand new home ports, miraculous resurrections from wreckage, and high-stakes, thrilling escapes. So I want to leave you with this question. What legacy will your vessel's registry leave on the endless horizon of the high seas? I think knowing the legal script behind the journey makes watching these majestic ships sail by that much more fascinating. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.